We are live. Let a few people trickle in. Happy to be back after a long weekend, back down south after I was visiting my parents last week. I took off Friday. Stream cut off for a second there. If it keeps doing this, I'm going to have to move. But for now, I think I'm going to stay here. Dale Cooper, thanks for being here. We're going to have an exciting talk today about the lessons taught in elite private schools, some of them which we've already covered and others which we have not yet. So we're going to get into a bunch of things, including teaching children public speaking. McCarthy, thanks for being here. Got an exciting show today about the lessons taught in elite private schools, about teaching children public speaking, and then addressing a few of the things that I've been posting about for the last couple of days, things that I think are very important, both to the educating of our children, but also to the way in which we live our lives, the way we live more freely, and all of that good stuff. So last week we talked about the 14 lessons taught at elite private schools that are not taught, Simone, thanks for being here, that are not taught today, that are not taught to children in public schools. So in the late 1980s, there was this great teacher. If you haven't read his work, Dumbing Us Down, Weapons of Mass Instruction, John Taylor Gatto, just a legendary educator who, if the system was better, the Department of Education would study his work. College students who are being educated to be the next generation of teachers, they would be asked to study his works and to build on it. But of course, we live in an inverted system, and unfortunately, the corrupt get promoted, and people that actually try to buck the system are suppressed when they should be celebrated. But 1988, 1989, 1990, John Taylor Gatto was the New York City Teacher of the Year, New York State Teacher of the Year. And he abruptly resigns, and he takes out a one-page ad in the New York Times explaining that he could no longer partake in a system that is designed to dumb down children. And of course, a man that had reached his level of status and prestige to step out and step away from this system and really give a very powerful rebuke of not just curriculum, not just teachers, not just funding, but that the system is fundamentally broken from the base level. And he would actually argue that it's not broken, that the system does what it is achieved to, what is designed to accomplish. Now, if you know your history, and Gatto writes about this, and by the way, I'm very interactive with my crowd. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about, any questions specific to your homeschool, just let me know. I'm more than happy to talk about your children, the concerns, the reservations you're having as a homeschool parent, or just America in general, because I made a few posts this week that got a lot of traction, a lot of controversy, and I am going to address that. But yeah, so I mean, Gatto would go back and he would track the history of American schooling. And what he found was really shocking, that in the 1950s, there were congressional hearings, the Reese Committee. And Norman Dodd, who was chairing this committee, was able to get access to the white papers or the corporate minutes of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, some of these big tax-exempt foundations. If you ever want to know who rules over you, figure out who doesn't pay taxes and who you're not allowed to criticize, and that's your answer. So when you turn on the news and every other minute they're like, white devil, you could say, okay, well, the average white man down the street, he probably is not oppressing me. Just like, you'll get some people that are like, oh, it's not the white man, it's the Jewish man. The average Jewish man down the street is probably just a baker. Like, he's not oppressing you. Get over yourself. So if you want to know who rules over you, just figure out who doesn't pay taxes and who you can't criticize. Thank you for all you do. We just made it to Florida. Congratulations. Well, I'm going to talk about relocating and how to live outside of debt, because I got a lot of love and I got a lot of pushback from my post in the last couple of days. So to me, that tells me I'm over the target. And when you post about a topic that people are sensitive to, or a topic that forces people to address some of the sin within their life, what you get is they lash out at you. They say, no, you are the bad man. I'm not bad. All right, we'll talk about that. And don't get me wrong, I don't live in a, I am a very fallen person myself. I have a lot of flaws, but I try to better myself every day and take sin out of my life as much as I can, which is why I haven't drinking alcohol. Not an alcoholic, just a decision I made. I haven't drinking alcohol since probably last March. Not this March, last March, because I don't want my children to grow up in a culture in which they see their dad drinking alcohol all the time, right? So that's a decision I made. I don't watch pornography ever because according to the Bible, I might as well take a knife and gouge out my eyes because I won't be able to see my wife, right? Which is why, statistically speaking, marriages in which people watch more pornography are more likely to end up in divorce, right? The Bible says this stuff for a reason. So anyway, we'll talk about how to live free and live outside of debt. Thank you. We live in a camper now with our 2 kids, sold our home, and we are out of debt. Smilac, thank you so much. The roses mean she's sending me money. I really appreciate that. I always tell people, support what you like or it goes away, which is why I send money every month to Owen Benjamin and Unauthorized TV and Unbearables Media and Gab and Tom Burnett and Crow 777 Radio. We need to fight back against this beast system, and the only way to do that is by, whoa, I don't know what that is, but it looked awesome. So the only way to do that is to promote people who are showing people how to fight back. And when I say showing people, you got to understand, like, the people that are in control of this system that have, and I'm going to get to all your comments, I'm going to go through them, that have done everything that's happened since last March and everything that we just don't like in the world, they kind of view us as farm animals. So, like, you'll have people that really can't see through things. And if any of you fall into this category, I'm not trying to rag on you, right? We're all at different levels of consciousness and understanding. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. But, like, on lower levels of consciousness, you'll get people that put on, like, CNN and are like, they can't see through that it's just propaganda and they're lying, right? So some people start to see through that and they'll put on, like, Fox News and they're like, oh, I really see it now. I see the truth. But organizations like that, because the controllers view you as a farm animal, they need somewhere to send you once you see through the lie. So the role of Fox News is to point out the hypocrisy you already see and then kind of go, so this is America, right? They want you to be outraged. They want you to be able to vent your outrage, but they're not showing you. My dog's in the background going crazy. What are you chasing, girl? God, I love her. I missed her. I'm back home after 2 weeks out. So they're there for you to have an outlet so you could vent and say, look at this hypocrisy, right? But they're not showing you how to actually defeat the system. And when you get to people that are, if you want to know if someone's really helping you, find people that are showing you how to live outside of the system, how to fight back against the system. And you do that through supporting people who are promoting a good message. You do that through supporting Gab, which is an alternative social media platform, or whatever alternative social media platform you like. Alternative media creators, people like Tragedy and Hope, Richard Grove, James Colbert of the Colbert Report, not the guy, not the late night comic, but the guy who really spews truth. You do that by showing people that it's okay not to keep up with the Joneses, which we're going to talk about, how to live out of debt. And I understand that sometimes you have to have debt. I get that. But the point is, the goal, the objective is to do as much as you can to not keep up with the Joneses so you get out of debt as soon as you can, right? Because a man who's not in debt is hard to control, right? It's hard to tell him, get this medical procedure you don't want to get because otherwise you'll lose your job. Well, if you don't have a mortgage, you're harder to control. cover your face or you can't come into the grocery store, right? Well, if you don't have a mortgage, if you grow your own food, right? That's why I tell people like myself, I got out of debt, lost connection. Come on, unstable connection. All right, I'm back. If I keep having connection problems, I'll move, but I really like it out here. Which is why myself, I got farmland, right? So I could grow my own food. So living free, right? You want to get out of debt. You want to grow your own food. You want to, in my opinion, follow God because, like I said, I don't drink alcohol. I don't watch pornography because the Bible talks about these things. I don't have debt because the Bible talks about these things. Put family first. Have lots of children. Understand that your wife, your husband, is wealth because they will literally die for you. That is wealth. Your children will do anything for you. As you grow older, they won't put you in a nursing home. That is wealth. Family is the greatest form of wealth. Have lots of children and homeschool them and raise them with your values. And then in 15, 20 years, if enough good people do this, we will take back all of our freedoms and our rights and everything that made America a great place in the first place. But this is the type of thing that the system doesn't teach you. So that's my rant, and now I'll get back to where I was going with this. Let me just see what you guys had to say about that. I told you I'd answer your comments. Wow, you guys are all right. I love it. Ordering my books. Thank you. How do I order my books? Check the link on my TikTok profile. That's what we do, and we love it. 5th wheel size, large enough for my family truck. I'm in Canada. Wish I was in the U.S. People are passive here. But it starts with the man in the mirror, right? God-fearing and live people. And also no doing the baba-jabba-jabba-jing-dong to you or the kids. Hey, you inspired my family and I to homeschool and try to change our lifestyle to be more free. I love it. And I hope you join my private homeschool community. I'm back in the Carolinas now, so I fixed the promo code. So if you use the promo code TOGETHER, you get my homeschool community for $10 a month. Private school is another good option. Just don't send them to public school. And make sure you know the people administering the private school. First year homeschooling, any advice? First thing you need to do is go to homeschoollegaldefenseassociation.org. Formally withdraw your children from school with the proper paperwork. Familiarize yourself with your responsibility as a parent and record keeper and homeschooler. And make sure you keep good records because that will help you later on. Look into unschooling, Charlotte Mason, classical education, which I'm going to talk about today, and Montessori. You want to understand what these things are, and then choose a curriculum. But don't take on too much at first. The first thing you need to do is go slow. Go slow, slow, slow. Build as you go. Don't try to replicate that very regimented 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. public school schedule that makes children hate learning in the first place. Any info on how to get the move started? I'm going to go into all of this. Let me talk about the education stuff first, because I know the people want the education stuff. And then I'm going to talk about, I use time for learning. Great. That's the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, hslda.org, 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 hslda.org. My biggest problem was constant chaos and overwhelmed with having little humans home 24/7. Yeah, well, we all have to manage that, right, aspect of homeschooling. And, I'd have to know more about your situation in terms of how to make that work. But some people like Charlotte Mason, her style, part of the education process is children wake up and they're doing chores, right? That could be feeding the dogs, helping around the house, taking out the garbage, doing their schoolwork. But chores are part of that education for that reason, because you're trying to get order in your house. My grandson is 7 and he has no confidence. Well, we better get that boy some confidence, wouldn't you say? Find out what he's interested in. Let him study things that he's interested in. Constantly reinforce how good he does, not just in the overall aggregate, but every little task, right? We want that little task that he completed to be like he just won the Super Bowl. How old would they be able to read? Whenever they're ready to read. And if they're struggling to read, don't make it a thing. Slow down, get them easier reading material about stuff that they love, and just read as a family. Just every day, read. And then if they're still having trouble, there's Reading You See as a program I like. If they're having if they have dyslexia, you can use Gemini, GEMIINI, Gemini Learning Systems for children with dyslexia. So, maybe that's the issue. I don't know. So anyway, John Taylor Gatto, New York City Teacher of the Year, 88, 89, 90. He's crushing. Takes out a one-page ad, eviscerates the New York education system, and then he does his research. And the Reese Committee, chaired by Norman Dodd, he gets access to the Rockefeller Foundation's paperwork, the Carnegie's, dating back 50 years. And he found that around 1910, these big tax-exempt organizations, this is congressionally documented history, these tax-exempt organizations got together and they were like, man, we need to take over the education system and make the population obedient. I shush you not. This is all congressionally documented. As Alex Jones says, we have the documents. He's just another farm. His role is, if you see past like the Fox News stuff, to keep people in a state of fear, right? He doesn't show you how to build. He just tells you to be afraid, says a lot of true things, and then says a lot of not true things, and then he makes people who see past some of it look crazy, right? So I went through my Alex phase, but the thing about figuring out this world is just when you think you got it figured out, you're wrong. You keep that in mind. So Norman Dodd, he gets access to the corporate papers of these big tax-exempt foundations, and he found that they had colluded, dare I say, but a conspiracy theorist, colluded, dare I say, to hijack the American education system and make a more obedient population. And what they did was they did their research on the best education model to get that obedient population, and they came across the Prussian education model. Now, if you go back all the way to the Napoleon Wars, France and Prussia were fighting it out, and Prussia's soldiers ignored their generals, tucked tail, turned around, and ran away from Napoleon. And this was around 1870, and the Prussian government got together after and we can't have this. We need obedience. So they got their psychologists together, their greatest minds, their social engineers, and they came up with the Prussian education model. And could anyone guess what that education model looks like? Let's just say it's from about 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., 45-minute block classes in which truth comes from the textbook and the authority of the teacher. You only do the work you're told to do when you're told to do it. If you do anything other than what you're told to do, you're put back in your place. You have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. It kind of looks something like that. Hey, there's a concept that works. 7 billion brainwashed people emerge. I'm not the only fish in the sea, but it feels so empty without me. So they brainwashed the entire globe, and they, if you read the book Propaganda by Edward Bernays, he talks about how he's the nephew of Sigmund Freud. I did a whole stream on this on my YouTube channel, Classical Learner. I post all these streams on a one-day delay. So like this morning, I posted the stream I did last week on a one-day delay. One business day anyway, Monday through Friday. I don't stream Saturday and Sunday. So Propaganda, Edward Bernays, and he basically admits that he worked for the Rockefeller Foundation, and he talked about how they took over the education system, and they started with just $10,000 grants, which at the time was a tremendous amount of money, right? They're like, man, we got these $10,000 grants, schools all over the country, like, oh, give me that money. All you got to do is implement this Prussian education system. And of course, you know how the propaganda machine goes. So they're like, Oh my God, this philanthropist, the Rockefellers, look at what they're doing. They're giving all the schools this money and they're modernizing their education system. They're making it so good. Good for who? Not for you. Oh, I digress. So anyway, that's your history here. Let's see. Going through your comments here. How old should we be able to read? Never sending them back to school. Thank you so much. Teach your child to read in 100 lessons or less. That sounds good. Just screenshotted that. I got to check that out. My youngest is Montessori. I love it. I went through the Alex phase. Don't call them conspiracy theorists. Call them fortune tellers. I wish my husband was on board. Yeah, well, you know what? Be patient with him because we're all at different places in our understanding of the world and we all want what's best for our children. So if you have a spouse who's not into it right away, maybe start with supplementing school a little bit and showing them what you can do with homeschooling and kind of wait until your child has some really bad days in public school because they will, and then your spouse will get behind it. Pulled my 3 kids out last week. I am available for consultations. Check that through my website and my private homeschool community, Homeschools Connected. Promotion code TOGETHER, $10 a month. You could drop it at any time. You get access to the community and you get access to myself, and I don't know why anyone wouldn't want that. So anyway, that's your background on Gatto. So he wound up studying the 14 lessons taught at elite private schools that public school students are denied. The lessons that the Rockefellers' children learn, but you don't get to learn. I'll tell you, the one lesson they don't learn is morality, and that's the first lesson you should teach your children. Tapped out of the indoctrination system, homeschooling 4, they are thriving. I love it. And if you want to talk about it, email me, classicallearnertoday@gmail.com. I'm interested in interviewing homeschool parents about their experience. You all have a wealth of knowledge to share the world, and I am more than happy to use my platform to give you that microphone so that you can share your experience with other families that are homeschooling, other families that are new to homeschooling, families on the fence. You have so much to offer the world, so don't be shy. Offer it. One more time. I don't know if one more time for what. I mean, I get anxiety. Anxiety is part of life. I try to stay grounded. Pray to God. If you need to get away, take a few days off. Do what you got to do. Education is a marathon, not a sprint. Oh, promo code. Together. So if you check the link in my profile or you go to www.classicallearner.com, you'll see Homeschools Connected. You click on there. You use the promo code TOGETHER, all lowercase. That is TOGETHER. And you get access for $10 a month. And you can drop that at any time. My ex won't approve of pulling our 6-year-old out of school. Well, it gets real tough when it's like divorce stuff. Would definitely love more info. So yeah, let me keep getting into it. So, because I want to talk about the 14 lessons. So I did a whole stream last week on the theory of access, and I'm just doing a quick review of this. The theory of access, which is basically when we were educated, we're taught you go to high school, you go to college, right? You take out your nice $100,000 loan like a good debt slave, and after you get your degree, you have a resume, right? You make a resume and you send it into corporations and you hope that you get a job and they let you start at the bottom of their corporation and you work your way up like a good old sheep for 40 years before you get a kick right on the ass on the way out the door. Well, at elite private schools, they're taught a different lesson. That in the modern world, you have the ability to access nearly any person in the world. And rather than sending in a resume get creative, and kick the damn door down. Don't wait online, right? Maybe you show up at the CEO's door and you show him why you're going to make him money. Maybe you find a way to contact a person up in a powerful position in an organization, and you email them. Maybe you make a video that you make go viral on social media, right? To get, like, you could do a video, you can get the attention of Elon Musk with a creative video, like an 18-year-old, a 15-year-old could make a creative social media video asking people to help him get in contact with Elon Musk, right? And you can actually get the attention of Musk and get a job, right? You just have to be creative. This is the theory of access. On a smaller scale, right? Like, say you want to get a job at a local mechanic shop, right? Rather than sending in a resume, show up at the mechanic shop during the day and have your pitch prepared. Go right up to the owner, say, this is what I want to do for my life. I want to learn to be a mechanic because I'm going to open up my own shop. And here is how I'm going to provide value to your operation. And I'm going to show up on time. I want to do for my life. I want to learn to be a mechanic because I'm going to open up my own shop. And here is how I'm going to provide value to your operation. And I'm going to show up on time every day. I'm not only going to do the manual labor and the basic tasks that you need me to do, but I will stay overtime and work on unable to connect. I will work overtime and work with your mechanics to not only help them out, but to learn the trade of being a mechanic. I'm going to make you money. And you'll see who they hire. You or Joe Smo, who sent in a resume. Theory of access. What state am I in? I'm down south. Going to World School. I love it. Texas, great homeschool laws. Absolutely. So that's the theory of access. And then the second lesson taught at elite private schools is that 80% of work, like by the time you get to high school, in elite private schools, is completely driven by the student. 80%. Now, in public schools, 99% of the work is completely driven by the teacher. Just purchase your books. I'm in Australia. I love it. Cubs to Bears going global, baby. Yeah, I even had someone purchase Cubs to Bears books in Japan, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, 80% of work in public schools is independent. I mean, in elite private schools is independent, but 99% of work in public schools is teacher driven. So when you structure your homeschool, early childhood education, the lesson we should learn is that the primary objective of early childhood education should be the process of learning, so that your child's education could become more and more student-driven, more and more independent as they get to middle school and high school. And you do this by making critical thinking, not memorization, the primary mode of education. So we're going to talk about two aspects of that. So the first is when your children study history, rather than having them memorize, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, right? It's a name, a date. That's how public schools teach history. Instead, you should have children read primary documents and formulate their own unique interpretations of what they're reading about based on their reading and their thoughts about it. When they study science, it shouldn't be, this is the scientific theory of evolution, right? They should be working with bones. They should be doing their own scientific experiments, making their own theories and hypotheses, making their own observations, doing hands-on science, so they're doing critical thinking. And this way, when Dr. E, trying to speak in hobo code, tells you have to do certain things because science, it's science. You say, no, that's authoritative science. It's not actually the scientific method, and I know that because I've been doing the scientific method, practicing it hands-on since I was a child. When children study English, they should be writing creatively as much as possible, and they should get into the habit of editing their own work. I did a whole stream on teaching your children to become master writers, and the most important thing you could do is teach your children the habit of editing their own work. You could put a big B plus on their paper, you could put an A plus, you could put a C minus in a big red pen, but that doesn't teach them anything. That's just affecting their self-esteem, and they just say, oh, so I'm doing a good job if authority says I'm doing a good job. But when you get them in the habit of editing their own work, so they're reading it line by line, and you're forming the habit of identifying a topic sentence, thinking critically about other ways in which they could have worded their topic sentence, worded their thesis, when they're thinking about where they used a comma, a semicolon, a period, a colon, right? They're thinking about their grammar, they're editing their own work, then as they get better, they'll naturally start to improve their writing, especially because when they read the literary work of other writers, right? When they read the literary works of other writers, they'll pick up on the styles of those writers and the grammar patterns of those writers. So it's about raising critical thinkers so that when your child is high school age, 80% of their work could be student-driven, right? And then we're going to talk about another method of raising critical thinkers. Just want to read your comments first. My kids are 2 years old, 6 months, going to homeschool. You're amazing. Thank you. I need info in Texas as I'm trying to get out of California before the governor stops us. Yeah, Homeschool Legal Defense Association, hslda.org, hslda.org, hslda.org. Just pulled my kids from school last month. My first books I purchased. By the way, I stream every day live on TikTok at 12. I might have some homeschool parents on this week. I also reached out to a guy running for governor in Michigan. I might have him on to talk about the education system. Just pulled my kids. My first books I purchased was your books. Oh, thank you so much. And download the lesson plans from my website. They're free. I made them myself, and they're designed to facilitate some really good conversations based on the books. I homeschool, and we have our own private school. I love it. 2020, do I get financial aid? If you can. But make sure you read the dotted lines because there's no such thing as a free lunch. I didn't know you wrote these books. I recently ordered. Oh, I loved it. I can't tell you how much I get people are like, oh my God, you wrote those books. And it makes me really happy because I'm a one-man marketing machine. I'm very anti-establishment, right? Like my books are on fake news, right? They're like, my books are designed to eviscerate the corporate news apparatus. So the New York Times isn't going to promote my books, right? I'm it. So everything is just me. So anytime, and it's amazing how often I come across people who are like, oh, you're the one that writes those books. So I'm like, all right, that's great. It means the people who love freedom are doing such a great job because they're spreading resources, right? It's not coming from me. That's other people saying, hey, you should check these books out because they promote freedom and they'll teach your children the mechanisms through which institutions manipulate people. Grassroots is how we win. And by the way, this Christmas, don't buy Walmart. Don't support these big box chains. Buy mom and pop. All my Christmas shopping will be from small business owners that I know, that I respect, because that is how you make people less desperate, less financially dependent on the system, and that is how we take our country back. I didn't know you wrote these. I recently ordered your free speech book. This is for homeschooling. I have been thinking about it. Yes, you can do it. I will help. And everyone here will help. It's the homeschool community is the best community in America, in my opinion. Because these people don't just like freedom, they live it, because freedom requires personal responsibility. First time, sorry, the screen jumped here. First time watching you, withdrew my 8-year-old from public school last month. Glad I found you. I do homeschool consultations. You can set that up through my website. And Homeschools Connected, my private community, definitely worth checking out. Wait, where do I find your books? Check the link in my profile. I just pulled my kids from... Slow down, Brett. I just pulled my kids this year. We just ordered a few of your books. Any curriculum suggestions? Yeah, I mean, I'd have to know more about your circumstance, but my homeschool community, like I said, $10 a month, promo code TOGETHER, is literally designed to make choosing curriculum easy. If you have specific questions, like, yeah, I love classical conversations, I love the good and the beautiful, but it really just depends on what you're specifically looking for. The universe works in crazy ways. I was thinking about writing conspiracy books for children. Well, if you write them and you inbox me, I will assist you in getting them published. I honestly, I opened the app and you popped up. That's good. We got the free speech book and Good Bears Always Tell the Truth. Can't wait to read them. Thank you. Never saw you before, so I bought your books instead. We'll be thinking about writing Australia. Oh, nice. We sign, if you go to www.classicallearner.com, you'll see Homeschools Connected. Just follow the links and you can sign up. Use the promo code TOGETHER. You get $5 off a month. Yeah, I got 5. Good Bears Always Tell the Truth. The Right to Bear Arms, which is about the Second Amendment. Operation Mockingbird and the Church Committee, which is the congressionally documented history of fake news. The Bear from Jekyll Island, which is the true history of the formation of the Federal Reserve and our banking system. And Good Bears Always Tell the Truth, which was the first book I wrote and is just about telling the truth. Homeschool our 9-year-old son who has special needs because of cancer. Well, God bless you, and I think we should all say a prayer for your son and just be strong. Check out, okay, I got to be careful. I once came across this guy who promoted the GERSON method. The GERSON method. Anyway, I would look into that if it were my child. Not a doctor. This is not medical advice. You should seek professional opinions. Don't listen to me. I'm just a guy on the internet who reads a lot of books. All right. We're eager to hear all about your ideas. Sorry, what's the website? www.classicallearner.com. www.classicallearner.com. All right, so anyway, in these elite private schools, they teach the theory of access. They teach that 80% of work is independent. You teach your children to be independent workers by starting young, having them read primary historical documents, formulate their own theories by doing the scientific method, making their own observations, hands-on science, get them in the habit of grading their own work rather than just slapping a B on their paper that doesn't teach them anything. And another method people like, which is the next lesson taught in these elite private schools, they are taught the classical method of education. I had mentioned classical conversations. That's a whole curriculum designed to teach what I'm talking about here. But elites historically have been taught the classical trivium. Classical education, it's the trivium of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. I'll give you a few books you could read about, so you can learn more about this stuff. But in elite private schools, part of the reason their children are able to do independent work is from a young age, they learn grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And I implement some of this in my homeschool, but I also implement unschooling, Montessori, and Charlotte Mason. I mix it all in. You got to do what works for you. But a classical education, I did do a whole stream on classical education, is basically, so if you want to go back to my YouTube channel, Classical Learner, there's a whole stream called Classical Education you could watch. not a Facebook group. It's a Homeschools Connected. It is my private homeschooling community. You can find it through the link in my profile or my website, classicallearner.com. So classical education is grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So learning is broken up into 3 stages. The first stage is grammar, which is memorization. Now you might say that's antithetical. You're talking about critical thinking. You just said not to do memorization. Well, memorization in terms of children are taught the importance of defining terms, right? So in stage 1, the grammar stage, children learn the importance of, you have to define your terms. Whether you're listening to someone speak, you say, define your term. Whether you're reading a book, right, you go back to the dictionary, you look up the word. Because if you don't understand a concrete definition of a word, then that same word could be used with a different definition later on, and things get confusing. So children are taught the importance of defining terms. And then once you do that, right, like, I don't even want to get into the Heineken infection topic. I don't want to get into it. I got to talk in hobo code for the algorithms. So define your terms. Then the second phase is logic. And I get into detail. Go back on my YouTube channel, watch the classical education stream I did. Logic, which is teaching children the importance of what I call intellectual self-defense, right? Identify contradictions within your thought process, within what you're reading. And if you identify contradictions, you have to accept that what you're reading is either inaccurate, you either misunderstand it, or you're not seeing the whole picture, right? So if you find a contradiction within your own worldview, you have to say, okay, I need to adjust my worldview so that it's logically consistent. And we see how few people are capable of doing this. You know, just go on Facebook, you'll see the arguments people have. And then rhetoric, which is the art form of using your words to paint a picture so that people understand what you're talking about. Here's a good example. I don't care about your political affiliation or what you think about the guy. Just an example of rhetoric that we're all familiar with is, we're going to build a wall, right? Why is that good rhetoric? Well, every Republican politician ever runs on border security, right? So when Trump runs on border security, he's not distinguishing himself. But when he says we're going to build a wall, you as the listener can visualize a wall, and in your mind, you see security. It's a rhetorically powerful statement. So children are taught grammar, logic, and rhetoric, right? So with rhetoric comes learning the art of public speaking. And this is what I wanted to discuss today. So I bring my entire rant comes to a head. Learning the art of public speaking. So I'm giving a speech later this week. I actually think I'm going to do a whole stream in which I go over my speech a day or two before and see if you guys could help me write it. But I'm giving a speech at the Constitution Party National Convention on Saturday at 2:30. So it had me thinking about public speaking. And one of the things I teach the parents in my private homeschool group is getting their children into public speaking. Now, the first thing is practice, right? From the time your children are little, when they do assignments, have them give presentations, whether that be to your family, maybe if they, you could have them create a play, right? They could do like theater, and you could have them create invitations, video invitations, and send them out to family and friends, invite family and friends over, and have them put on a play for family and friends. Any exposure you can get your children to public speaking is good, because you know it's just one of those things. The more you do it, the more comfortable you are. I remember years ago when I made my first social media video, I was so nervous, and I couldn't pronounce anonymous. And now I could stream for hours talking to you guys, because I've done it enough. And I'm giving a speech at the Constitution Party National Convention on Saturday, and I talk with my hands, and they're going to see that, and I'm going to tell them that, sorry, I'm Italian, I speak with my hands. But So when you're teaching your children public speaking, and I wrote down one program that I really love. Winning Feathers, starting at 7 years old, has a program over the internet which is actually designed to teach your child public speaking. And it really is like I'm not affiliated with them, by the way. It is like a full curriculum. Maybe they do one thing a week. And it goes through stages. So you could be with Winning Feathers for years. And it actually is designed to teach your children to be more confident presenters and public speakers. And to me, that's a skill, right? Public speaking is a skill that you want your children to have, because whether they're giving a speech at the Constitution Party National Convention, whether they're giving a speech in a classroom, a business board meeting, whether they have to win over a crowd, public speaking is something that they did a survey and people were more afraid of public speaking than death, right? So public speaking is something that people are in general very afraid of, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. So to me, Winning Feathers is a really good program and something you can get children involved in. I'm giving this speech at the Constitution Party National Convention later this week. I was thinking about, let me read to you what I have now and see what you guys think. Let me know if you have any ideas here. And if you guys are interested, I would be interested in doing a session maybe later this week in which I just go over everything with you and you let me know, like, what would you want these politicians to hear, right? Because they're giving me a platform, but with me, you don't get political nonsense. I'm going to speak what I believe to be true and what I believe people need to hear. I might do this speech a little bit in hobo code versus what I actually wrote because I'm going to give the whole thing. I'm going to give the real thing when I get in front of these politicians. But, all right, ready? 15 days to stop the spread. Surrender your rights or you'll be dead. Trace me, track me, mask me too. Not going to say the word, but blah, blah, blah. Passports for me and you. Sorry, tyrants, don't hold your breath. Give me liberty or give me death. Mock me, ban me, shame me too. Censor me like tyrants do. Threats, coercion, let me be clear. A free man does not give in to fear. Are you willing to pay the fee? Freedom isn't always free. My grandfather fought in Japan in World War II, and my father volunteered for Vietnam on his 18th birthday, a Marine. How many Americans have risked everything, sacrificed everything to protect free speech, freedom of religion? I'm reading, so sorry I'm not looking at the camera. The right to assemble, the right to bear arms, and the pursuit of happiness, only to see so many willing to surrender those things because they are afraid. My father, my grandfather, countless others were afraid, but they stood for liberty. Yeah, I do these live streams every day at 12 on TikTok. When the founding fathers rebelled against the crown, all of the men involved, the signers of the Declaration of Independence, they knew they would be hung if they lost the war. Freedom has never been free, but has always been worth fighting for. That was a revolution, but today we need a revelation. The bones of America, the founding principles are strong. We have simply forgotten what freedom requires. I remember when the president declared lockdowns last March, I tweeted they were going to use coronavirus to take your rights. It happened fast. All of a sudden, everyone, talking in hobo code here, had their breathing holes covered. Yet they were easier to see than ever before. Those controlled by fear, corrupt, shills, tyrants, so easy to see. For my wife and I, it was a gift. It gave us clarity. People were told by authority that they were unessential. They were prevented from working. People with mortgages and children to feed. People denied entry into stores, turned into second-class citizens. Just wear the mask. It's just contact tracing. Don't be selfish. Just get the you-know-what. It's just a passport, just to keep us safe. People are not only being enslaved through law, but through circumstance. My wife and I sold our New York home to get out of debt. We bought land down south, a trailer home on 16 acres of land so that we can grow our food and live freely. People without mortgage debt who can grow their own food are much more difficult to coerce into unwanted procedures. People are controlled by their vices, and it is their vices that will be used to suppress liberty. That's where I'm up to. What do you guys think? That's awesome that you get a voice and can give a voice to the rest of us. Do you do these lives often? Yes, every day at 12. We decided to move to the sticks and have more children and live off the land, no more control by the government. Yes, well, that's what freedom requires. So this is the last thing. Thanks, guys. If you don't mind, later this week, because I got to write more of this tonight. Later this week, or maybe all week, I'm going to keep going over the speech with you guys and just, let me know what you think, any ideas you have. I'm trying to get my family out of this mentality, but you're sheep. Right? It's amazing what people say. My husband is in the military, currently getting out and doing the same thing you and your wife did. Yeah, so I had posted a video a day ago that currently has 50,000 views on it. And I basically told my story that my wife and I had sold our New York home to get out of debt, and we moved across the country, right? So, like, for me, when the boogeyman hit, right, and we were told that we were all going to perish, right, and the scary videos were released from a foreign country of people literally dropping dead in the street. You think that was propaganda? Have you seen anyone dropping dead in the street? So, and we were all put into a state of fear. I wasn't. It gave my wife and I clarity, and we sold we were like, let's sell our house, let's get out of debt. We wanted to do this anyway. So we wound up selling our house, getting out of debt. We moved across the country down south. I bought 16 acres I'm actually not on that now. I'm somewhere else right now, but I close on the 16 acres on the 29th. So 16 acres of tree-covered land, basically forest, and we're buying a trailer. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a nice trailer. It's nice. It's, quite frankly, I was shocked how beautiful it is. It's actually bigger than my Long Island home was, and my Long Island home was just a crazy amount of money, a huge mortgage debt to be there. And understand, like, when I tell people this, like, the situation I was in with the way the banking system is, I literally could have purchased a property and a home worth over $1 million. And instead, I wanted the land and a trailer. Yeah, I'm going to put it on a foundation. I'm going to put it on a permanent foundation. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but the point is, I sold my Long Island home and I moved across the country, and we were going to do whatever we had to do to live out of debt. So would we like to build a house from sticks? I would, but then it would take my budget over. I don't care. It's only $50,000 debt. I'm not doing it with the way the world is right now. I'm not doing it. So we sold our house to get out of debt. So anyway, I posted a video telling the story, and so many people, the comments were so overwhelmingly positive. Of all these people, thank you for being an example. We need people who show others that we don't have to keep up with the Joneses, right? That we should live within our means and be humble. And there's so much power in growing your own food and the responsibility that comes from that, so that the grocery stores don't have power over us, so they can't coerce us into doing things we don't want to do, into surrendering our rights. People, they feel like they're desperate. They can't push back. They can't fight for the very freedoms that my father fought for when he went to war when he was 18 years old, that my grandfather went to Japan to fight for, right? But people, they're afraid of the sniffles, so they're going to give up all that freedom. But a lot of people are just afraid of that mortgage payment, right? They're afraid of losing their job, and they're boxed in. So I had posted that this is what my wife and I had done, and I also got the haters, it must be nice. Must be nice with your New York money. Well, first of all, I understand that everyone's in a different circumstance, right? Like, the whole purpose of the post is to live within your means, right? Like, yes, some people might have to have a little debt, but my point is, yeah, well, instead of getting that 3,000 square foot home, maybe you live in that 1,000 square foot home, right? And you take on less debt, you get it paid off, and you live within your means. Because to me, like, I see people try to keep up with the Joneses. To me, they have less social status. Like, I'm like, oh, that's gross to me. Like, when I see people that are humble, that attempt to live within their means, I'm like, man, you are the people I want around. You're less materialistic. You're the people I want to be around. They're usually more spiritual. And you're the people that are less desperate so that you could fight back against this type of tyranny, right? But then I posted another video a little while ago saying it's also like we are so conditioned by a mindset. Like, brothers and sisters, can we normalize brothers and sisters and like-minded people living in communes together? Did you know that in many areas of the country, you could pick up 5-10 acres of land for $50,000, which means if you have 5 friends or 5 siblings or a sibling and some friends, you put in $10,000 each, you could pick up 1 acre of land each for $10,000, subdivide it, start with tiny houses so you could pay it off right away, right? And then you start to live without a debt and all live outside of debt, and then building wealth becomes easier so that then you could start to actually build homes as you have the money to do it, rather than living in debt. You could also, you can do like, get 100 acres, get 10 acres of land for $100,000 in so many places. So you could get with 5 other people, $20,000 each, put tiny houses up on the property. Then, as you have the money to do it, you could put up rental properties on the other 5 acres that none of you are living on. And you could actually like get Airbnbs and stuff like that. Or you could put up houses and sell the houses to other people, like-minded people, but they're in a better position. They want to live in your commune type area. You say, oh, we actually just built a house on this property. We'll sell it to you, right? So like, there's so much you can do as a young person to be creative and live outside of debt. But we've been conditioned of this false American dream, that the American dream is somehow going to college, taking on big debt, having a wedding, taking on big debt. I'll get to that. Taking on big debt, taking on a big mortgage debt, getting that 3,000 square foot home, getting those 2 cars, getting that boat. Oh yeah, you do you, bro. That's not the American dream. That's the American nightmare. And that's why the people that push the American nightmare, the controllers, are the ones giving you that dream. No, the American dream is rugged individualism. It's living within your means. It's embracing your spirituality, your connection with God. It's building community, buying mom and pop, growing your own food, being a free man on the land. That was the American dream. And you can take that dream. You can grab it. It's yours. I'm the walking embodiment of that dream. So don't ever tell me you can't live that dream. But they want you to think, they want you in despair, right? They want you making those excuses. Must be nice to have that New York money. You don't see the big picture, bro. I said don't have an expensive wedding. I didn't say don't get married. I'll be encouraging my boy, my girl, my children to get married. I want them married at 18 years old. I want them having children by 20. Because family is true wealth. And they took that from us. They make people think like children are a liability. Children are your greatest asset. Ask any 85-year-old in a nursing home who didn't have children. Because if you love those children and you raise them right, they will never let you be in that circumstance. Ask every mother of a professional athlete whose child hits it big and then buys them their multi-million-dollar home. Now, that's not the way you should go about it, but the point is, your children will always take care of you. And when you homestead and you live on the land, those are just more workers, right? And of course, as they're working, I'm homeschooling them, I'm educating them on how to be entrepreneurs, which By the way, I do all this. I have a successful business, right? And I still do this because I will not take one penny of debt. Because I'm trying to be an example for young people. I'm trying to show people that freedom isn't free, that it requires personal responsibility, and that you can take it. It's yours. But young people need role models, right? I run a successful business. I had my New York money. Yes, I had my New York money and ran my successful business, and I still am living in a trailer because I won't do debt. Because I'm trying to take my country back, and I'm trying to position my family in a spot where we're not desperate, because a man that has mortgage debt, a man that can't grow his own food, is a lot easier to coerce into surrendering his God-given liberties. But yes, get married as young as possible. Encourage your children to get married as young as possible, but don't have a $50,000 wedding. Get married in a backyard, right? Get married in a backyard and on land that you gift them for the wedding, so that they could raise their family on the same land that you're on. Yes, they'll have their own house, they'll have their own space, but you're keeping your family together. You're building community. They're having children. Hey, sister, my sister just joined. I was just having a conversation with the people about siblings living together. So if you want to come down here and visit and take a look at where I'm living, I think you'll find that you'll absolutely love it, my sister. And I was also telling people to have as many children as possible and to homeschool those children, right? Because your grandparents had 15 children, right? That was the norm. And if we get back to good people having a lot of children, well, and you homeschool them, well, in 20 years, America's going to have a lot of people that are capable of living free and independently and sovereign, and are willing to fight for your rights and for your children's rights and for your rights. That is how we take back our country. And that is how you build. They're trying to force my fiance to get the you-know-what. And I told him if he wants to quit, we'll figure it out. That's because you are a great woman. You are everything that America stands for. You stand by your man. Behind every great man is a great woman. I'm only out here right now doing this because my wife is making it possible, because she's watching my children, right? Behind every great woman, every great man is a great woman. And when the two of you work together like that, you will figure it out. And, show him this stream that there are ways to live within your means in which you can be wealthier and more prosperous than 99% of the population in this world. And I'll tell you right now, I am wealthier than Jeff Bezos, because my children and my wife are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And there is literally nothing he could give me to get them from me, right? So I'm wealthier than him. Family is true wealth. So have lots and lots of babies. All right, guys. I do this every day at 12. I post the replays on the Classical Learner YouTube page. My Instagram is Classical Learner Today. My Gab is Classical Learner. If you want to schedule a consultation, you could do so through my website. They're definitely worth it. If you want to join my private homeschool community, Homeschools Connected, promo code TOGETHER. It's $10 a month. Homeschools Connected through my website, Thank you. Really appreciate that, Brad. www.classicallearner.com. Homeschools Connected, $10 a month with the promo code TOGETHER. And anyone who's interested in supporting me, I do have options for that through the link in my profile as well. Our faith says no, you know what? And he needs to stand his ground, and there's nothing we can't do. Together. Interesting you use together. That's my promo code. But yes, that's the truth. You stand your ground and know that there are so many like-minded people. And you know what? Don't be afraid to go out there and find them. So even if you don't know 5 people directly who are willing to, buy group land together, there's so many creative things you can do. There's so many great places. America is beautiful. Remember, freedom isn't free, and we have to earn it every day of our lives. I'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon.